Hi! On the Woodpecker today, for the second part of my edge sander, I'm going to install the sandpaper and make the table. At the end of part 1, I add 2 metal shafts. Peter had cut most of the pieces, and together we had managed to assemble most parts of the base. Now I need to continue. I'm going to start with the top cap. Okay, even if it's the right length, I need to drill a hole for the shaft. Oh, by the way, I put this piece of wood inside the hole to prevent any wood blowout. Perfect. The shaft and the drive roller will be assembled just like this. But it's only here that I notice that I made a mistake in my plans, because both rollers are not at the same height. After figuring out my mistake, I need to cut the rest of the holes. Then I need to drill new holes for the bearings. Next, I can glue those pieces together, and I just need to wait for the glue to dry. When it is, I use this piece of wood to guide me to cut those pieces round. When the pieces are to my liking and nicely round, I need to screw them in place. But since I will probably remove and put back this piece once or twice, I drill a hole so I can put and glue a small piece of dowel to help me align it in the future. Now I need to take care of the base that will hold the motor in place. When it's got the right size, I put the motor where it should be and take some measurements so I will know where the base should be. Next, I trace and drill the holes for the motor on the base. But since I want to be able to move this motor up and down, I need elongated holes. After tracing where the base should be, I remove some varnish because this piece of plywood was already varnished. And after drilling 8 pilot holes, I glue and screw the motor base in place. And now I can finally put the motor where it should be. And put the top cap with the drive roller in place. Now, I need to figure out where it should be. I check this with a dial indicator. Okay, since I'm satisfied with this, I mark, drill, and screw a couple of screws to hold the top in place. I make another test on the shaft. Okay, since this is a wooden tool, I'm pretty satisfied with the accuracy. I even make a test with the motor at low speed using a tuning. Since the top cap will be removed several times, I mark and drill 4 holes for the aligning dowels. Now that this is done, I can take care of the piece that holds the bottom bearing in place. I begin by measuring the distance I need, transfer this on the piece of wood, and cut it. Before going any further, I need to cut the top and this piece round. Now I can try this in place. Okay, I can clearly see that my piece is a bit too long. I shorten it a bit. Okay, it doesn't fit again. I need to cut it again. Now it's perfect. Next, I need to take care of the wood block that will be between the base and the drive roller. But this block needs to be made out of several pieces of plywood. When I have enough of them, I glue them together. Now I just need to wait for the glue to dry. And it's perfect, because with the snow that piled up outside, I need to get out and remove it. And when I come back inside the shop, the glue is dry enough so I can cut this to size. Now that everything fits, it's time to screw this together. Since everything is on its side, I make sure my glue up is flush with the base. But I need to do something here to hold the bearing in place. I trace the shape that I need and cut it. Now I just need to screw this in place. And just like before, I add some aligning dowels. Finally, I make sure the shape is to my liking. Put that back in place and also add some aligning dowels. And finally, I can make my first test. After making the necessary adjustments, I can try it for the first time. I can see that this will work perfectly, but I still have a lot of work to do before I can start to use it. So I start with the platen. After cutting a piece of masonite a little bit bigger than what I need, I glue a tiny piece of aluminum on it with contact cement. As usual, I brush 2 coats of glue before putting the 2 pieces together. After applying a good pressure, I can cut the table spacer. Before being able to screw this in place, I need to drill 2 holes for the T-nuts that are inside the base. Then I screw the spacer in place. After this, it's time to cut the platen at the right size. I also need to mark and drill the holes to keep it in place. Now I can start to work on the table itself. The first things I cut are the adjustment plate and the table back. When I have both pieces, I trace the shape of the adjustment plate on the table back and cut it. Here you can see that I put a clamp so the piece won't move when I push it onto the blade. I finish the cuts with a handsaw. After filing the handsaw cut, I cut a slot inside the table's backside and on the outside of the adjustment plate. I'm going to cut the piece of plastic to put inside the slots so both pieces can move over the other. Before gluing the piece of plastic in place, I file a round shape on the top. This way, the pieces can go up the slot. I trace the length of the plastic and cut it. And here's how this will work. The last thing to do is glue the plastic in place with epoxy glue. To be able to adjust the table, I need to cut 2 slots on the table's back. And now, with the back bolted in place, I can screw the adjustment plate in place. And that's it. Now I need to make the tabletop. The first thing to do is take one of the glue ups that Peter made and cut it to size. I also need to cut both brackets. Finally, I have all the pieces to make the table. I begin by gluing and screwing the brackets in place. And here's how this will look. I take this opportunity to check if the table will be at 90 degrees from the sandpaper. And now I can glue and screw the tabletop in place. After screwing a couple of screws, I remove the table and add a bunch of screws. After being sure that the tabletop is smooth, I fill the screw holes with wood putty. I don't have the patience to wait for the putty to dry by itself, so I use a heat gun to speed up the process. This goes pretty well if I don't stop too long at the same place. Then I sand the tabletop again. And now it's time to cut another piece of aluminum. The pattern bit makes a great job to cut the excess aluminum, but throws small pieces of glue on the side. I need to remove this. Now I need to cut the miter slot track. This is perfect. But I still need to screw this in place. So after drilling 2 pilot holes, I screw it in place. Then I drill the rest of the pilot holes, trace the length that the rail should be, and cut it. In the end, this will be perfect. The last thing I need to do on the table is to cut both front corners at 45 degrees. And unfortunately for you, if you want to see the rest of the construction of my edge sander, you will be forced to come back to see me on the Woodpecker.